Right, Congressman Byron Donalds joining us on Daybreak 92.5 Fox News. Hey, we started off the segment, by the way, before we get into the real news of the day. We started off the segment today about today apparently is National High Five Day because there always has to be a national something. And so ESPN said that Dusty Baker and Glenn Burke in 1977 and the Dodgers, they started the high five. What do you think? Would you agree with that?
I don't know, Drew. I don't even care. It's cool. All right.
Okay.
Why is everything got to be
help me
like
out? Well, help me a little.
Like,
well, I know.
Let's celebrate hard work. Let's make hard work our favorite thing to celebrate.
You sound. I feel like I'm watching an episode of Elf. Smiling is your favorite thing. Okay.
Smile's your favorite thing.
Okay, smiling.
Work is your favorite thing.
All right. Work and smiling is my favorite thing. Forget the high five thing. I thought we would go with something different. Okay. Let's get into the serious subject of what is. Okay, look. Let's start with this. Speaker Mike Johnson wants to present everything, all these bills on Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, right, as standalones, and people are like, good, okay. The problem is, I thought we weren't going to do any of this until we secured the southern border. That's been the big beef with some who are like, well, hold on a second. What are we doing? We're spending. And it seems like all these convenient, unfortunate things come up and opportunities for people to present money has to go to Israel. Money has to go to Ukraine. They're telling us, Zelensky's telling us it's only a matter of time before there's a loss there in Ukraine. We got to send the money. We have to do this. And never any discussion about the southern border. What's your take on this? What is your opinion on this? And where do we stand on all of this?
Well, a couple of things. First, when it comes to Israel, and we got to separate these things out. When it comes to Israel, I'm fully for sending money to Israel for them to restock their weapon systems to defeat Hamas and to defend themselves now against Iran. They're our ally, one of our longest allies in the history of our country. Number two, we've not really sent them anything other than what we typically do in normal appropriations. And you can't compare them to Ukraine. We've sent $115 billion to Ukraine, and it's basically nowhere because Joe Biden's a dummy. The State Department is stupid. They don't know how to actually send missile systems and weapon systems in a timely fashion, and they're typically late. So, I basically told the speaker a month ago, like, we should send money to Israel. We should do that now. The Democrats have a serious issue in their party when it comes to Israel. We should make that known to the American people directly when it comes to supporting Israel. So I think you got to put them on the side. Mm-hmm. When it comes to Ukraine, the position has been for basically 8 months now that there will be no more money for Ukraine until the southern border is secured. Speaker McCarthy stood behind that. Speaker Johnson stood behind that until basically this week. And so that's where your issues are coming from.
All right, so then your position is, listen, all of these, everything's standalone. We can talk about and debate. That's fine. But we did say, and the speaker did say before, and when it comes to money for Ukraine, there's no doubt about it. You're not getting anything there without securing the southern border. But as far as Israel is concerned, there's an immediate need. They don't get as much, let's say, as we've given to Ukraine. So that's a different story. So we should go for that right now, stand alone, pay for. Let's get this happening. And then how does it how is it paid for? Is the other part of it. I mean, first of all, is that your stance? And then second of all, how is it paid for?
Well, really, there's two questions. Can we pay for it or not? We already sent a bill over there about 4 months ago, right after October 7th. We sent a bill over there that paid for it with IRS agents. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats tabled that bill. They tabled it. It's sitting in the Senate. They tabled it. They won't bring it up because they don't want to have to go into their piggy bank about IRS agents. So people need to understand that the Democrat Party has an opportunity to fund Israel right now. All they would have to do is take money out of the $80 billion that they put aside for IRS agents and move that to supporting Israel. They refused to do so. They tabled it in the Senate. Yeah. So you may not get a pay for, but considering the fact that a weakened Israel does draw us into World War III, and I'm not trying to be facetious at this point or glib, that's a real possibility. So that's why it's just a different situation. The problem we're having on Capitol Hill is that the speaker basically turned an about face on Ukraine. And so now everybody's like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were going to actually stand strong for securing our southern border and not allow funds to go to Ukraine, because the Democrats do want to send money to Ukraine. And I will argue, so do a lot of Republicans want to do that. But the security of our nation is a national security issue, just like everything else happening around the globe. So if you don't take this opportunity to draw a strong contrast with the Democrats over securing our nation with respect to Ukraine, then all you've done is talk about wanting to secure the border, but you've not used every legislative vehicle at your disposal to do everything you can to secure the southern border. That's what's happening on Capitol Hill right now. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's why Mike Johnson is getting pushback in a major way. Last thing I'll say, Drew, is, look, I had conversations with the speaker and the leadership team about 2 months ago, and I was telling them the leverage of Ukraine is not what you think it is. It's like a shrinking island. If you're going to fight for border security, you should do it through the appropriations process with federal spending. Because as much as the Democrats want to send money to Ukraine, and some of our Republican colleagues want to send money to Ukraine, what the Democrats want more than anything else is government spending.
Yeah.
They want that above all else. And so that's your true leverage point. And what we were told was, no, we can't do that. We can't have a budget fight over this. We're definitely going to stand for, when it comes to Ukraine, the border's a hill we're going to die on. This is what we've been told for months in the Republican conference, and now it's a complete about-face on that position. And to a large part, that's in part what's putting his job at risk. And that is why there's a major issue about whether this is going to get out of the House this week.
Yeah, and we only have a couple of minutes, but I'll say this quickly, too. You know, to the point of the things that are being said and what you just described, there's also the point that needs to be made, and it's something I brought up earlier in the morning, is the narrative has to switch. You know, Republicans need a win and need a narrative switch back to the important things like inflation and like the illegal immigration issue that we have, especially on the heels of some of the news stories that are out there. One being all of these diseases popping back up again. Measles is back on the rise. There's other things that are happening. We all know why this is coming back and all of this is happening. On top of even the story this morning about all of these states, Texas, South Dakota, Florida, and others in this 911 outage that people were worried about overnight, and that this is happening, and the concerns about sabotage and all of these things that we're seeing on top of the things that are happening with the issues of airline safety, on top of the things that we see when it comes to railroad safety and what we discovered last week, and then some of the things that are happening in the questions with the cargo ship and all of those issues as well. Somehow, some way, there's got to be a pivot. Like, we have to talk about this, and that needs to be focused on, especially considering what Schumer just did yesterday on the Senate side with regard to Mayorkas. Unprecedented. When you tick off Mike Lee, when you set off Mike Lee the way that he went off on Schumer yesterday, you know you've done something wrong constitutionally. That was awful. Awful.
It was. But I mean, first of all, to all the issues you discussed, this is why I call Joe Biden the master of disaster. Everything is going wrong, Drew. Nothing's really going right. And I had a meeting yesterday with a couple of business owners, and we were just talking generally about the country. The only thing that's keeping our economy afloat is the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, also known as the Trump tax cuts. That's actually the thing that's keeping our situation afloat right now. If we were under Joe Biden's tax policy, we would be in a recession, and a pretty big one right now. So things are not going well in America. And so this is why when you have members on Capitol Hill saying, why are we sending $60 billion to Ukraine? By the way, about $30 billion of it is really lethal aid. The rest of it is humanitarian aid, government assistance, refugee resettlement programs, money to other countries to help them with their situations with respect to refugee programs because of Ukraine. There's about $2 to $3 billion in this package that goes to what we call Indo-PACOM, essentially to Taiwan, to help Taiwan. I've been told, and many of my colleagues have been told, that the Taiwanese don't even need that money, that they already spent $20 billion towards that. They just need some policy shifts. And then when you read the bill, it says that the president has authority to shift that money to Ukraine if need be. And then the other thing that came out last night is that in the bill, everybody was talking about, oh, we're going to lend them the money. We're going to lend them the money. And that's how we're going to do this. So that's how we're going to get paid back, is it's going to be a loan. And listen, let me be very clear. Everybody's attributing that to Donald Trump. This was a Lindsey Graham idea, because Lindsey wants to send money to Ukraine. And he was like, well, shoot, why don't we just lend them the money? Then it makes it easier. Then we have a pay for, quote unquote. Well, in the bill, Joe Biden can forgive half the money this November. This is the foolishness that happens on Capitol Hill.
Wow.
So when members see this stuff and read this stuff, that's when we're like, once again, you are saying one thing publicly. Yeah. You're trying to get the defense caucus, which we affectionately call them on the Hill, because defense is the largest caucus. You're getting the defense caucus to say, oh, we got to have it, we got to have it, we got to have it. Then when we read the bill, there's all kind of other stuff that's in there that is not to the mission that we're talking about, and there's games that are being played in the process. And my fear for Mike Johnson, who, as I said when he first became Speaker, and I believe it to be true, he is a good man.
Yeah.
But honestly, Drew, his goodness is being taken advantage of here on Capitol Hill, because there are real sharks up here who will use your goodness against you. And my concern is that has happened to Mike Johnson.
Yeah, I believe it. All right, Congressman, we got to jump. All the best. I know you got to as well. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Okay, there it goes.